So you said yes. You said yes. You found us. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to engagement. Well, welcome. It's Wednesday, so if I'm here and you're here, then it must be Wednesday. Welcome to engagement, ladies and gentlemen. I hear it all the time. People ask me this on the street nonstop. So, Doug, you're a wedding officiant and you have a channel called, engagement. Is this for people that are getting married? And I say, well, no, not really. Not 3/4 of the time. Mostly, this is set for those that are engaged in conversation and having dialogue and learning about other people. But from time to time, we do have a discussion here about engaged people. And when we do so, we bring some of the best pros, people that you need to know, people you should meet, people that if you're planning a wedding, you need to have in your corner. And that's exactly what we do here. So we show up, we have some guests, we have a little sippy sip, we have a little laugh, we learn something, and we move on to plan our big day because it's your day, it's your way. We want to make the most of it. So this series, which is going on for a longer period of time than normal, is going to capture a lot of different services, different vendors, as we're called. And at the end of it all, we invite you to come back and bring a friend or invite some other friends to tag along. Bring your whole wedding party. We don't care. And we're going to talk about, sort of a Q&A with all of the pros. And it should be exciting. It should be very helpful. And that's exactly what we want to do here at Engagement. So let's get right down to it. We have two guests tonight, and they're both very well suited because they kind of go together. And we try to do that. It doesn't always work. I'll tell you that right now. But we try to make sure that we can pull together people that make sense in the community. So I'm really happy to bring in a first-time guest, long-time viewer. I always wanted to say that. Margery. Margery is from the Professional Party Planners here in our town. Margery's in our green room, and there she is. How are you, darling?
I'm good, Doug. How you doing?
Excellent. Excellent, love. Better now that you're here.
Oh.
How's your day going?
Good.
Good.
Better than the weather.
Well, we have that. We have that.
Mm-hmm.
So I have known Margery for a very long time.
Yeah, like 30 years, I think.
At least, yeah. And I know how you got into the party planning business because I always say you're the party planner to the stars. And you know how you got here, but the fine folks that are watching may not know how you got here. So tell us how it happened. How did you get into the party planning business?
So my girlfriend actually had the business, Professional Party Planners, as a storefront back in the day on Queen Street, because she would also sell items as well as do rentals and setups of weddings and different corporate events. And then discovered after a while that she was not selling so much stuff. It was mostly rental. And why pay for a storefront when she could do it from her home and have offsite storage? So she did that for a number of years, and I helped her out on occasions with different bits and bobs. And then she said, I want to retire. And I said, I'd like to take that over for you then. So we made an agreement. That was back in 2008, probably not the best year considering, 2008 with the housing market and everything else that went on that year. But so where are we now? 14 years, 15 years, 15 years later.
A lot of water under the bridge.
A lot of water under the bridge. Lots of changes.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. There has been a lot of changes. And, we're going to talk about tips later on, but I always tell people, you know what, it's a lot of work. It's a very busy day. There's a lot of moving parts on that given day. So hand over what you can to the pros so you don't have to worry about it. And this tip has come up in our previous episodes, and we're actually, believe it or not, we're on episode 4, season 7 of doing this, the 3rd year in a row of talking just about weddings. The same tip comes up every time. talk to the pros. They have some things in there that can just dazzle you, that they're dying to do, and they're very creative individuals, and you should embrace that and let them, you know, well, I shouldn't say let their freak flag fly, but let their creative juices flow, right? So, um, I've got some great pictures here I want to show of what you've done because you've
Mhm.
provided us some awesome shots. So let's look at them and talk about them.
Sure.
This one here.
Tent weddings,
Yes.
really, really popular. If you have space on your property or a friend's property, family member, because that way you can customize your day how you want it to be. You can
Mm-hmm.
bring your caterer or have family even if you want to go like a potluck type
Yep.
of thing. You can have your own bar, so
Mm-hmm.
then you can kind of run that as appropriately as you would like to do. You're not restricted on, you know, the decor style that you want. You can bring in whomever you like, and it just gives you a little bit more flexibility in general.
Yeah. I mean, as you know, I marry a lot of people. I attend a lot of weddings, and I always say if it's happening at a backyard barn or a beach, you can make it happen. And having the help of a planner who can come in and schlep everything in and get it set up and make it look pretty, so you don't have to do it. It's well worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can set the tone and set the style that people have entrusted in you to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? So a lot of tents, and a lot of weddings under tents. And I'm going to show this one here as well. This is gorgeous. I love the wood
Yeah,
and the chandelier that you might not be able to see, but there's one there.
yeah.
It's just very, very elegant.
That was at Green Hill Gardens.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful location with a covered bridge.
Mm-hmm.
There was about 40 folks that attended that. Kind of in that, are we in COVID? Yes, we still are, but it was in the summertime, right?
Yeah, I know.
And it just lent itself so I mean, it's a beautiful location. You don't need to do a lot. This just added a little bit more. We did some shears running through the rafters as well.
You can do a
And
lot with some fabric, right?
you really can.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be OTT.
No.
It can be quite simple, effective, and you're in a natural environment. So let that beauty speak for itself.
Now, Margery, I've known you a long time.
Mm.
I've gotten used to your dialect. I can understand most of the things that you say. I've never heard the phrase OTT before.
Oh, over the top,
Oh,
darling.
oh,
Over
darling,
the
yes.
top.
Oh, Doug, you should have guessed that. So that one there, this one here, we just showed you. I'm assuming the opposite vision of that is this.
Yes,
Yes. So look
yes,
at that. That's gorgeous. You've got a
yeah,
long walkway. Everyone
exactly.
gets a close look at the bride as she come, or grooms as they come through.
Yeah,
Um, you've got all the fabric. It's very elegant. It's very nice. It's very civilized.
yes. And obviously having to be COVID appropriate, you can't have everybody huddled together.
No,
So this was what they were looking to do. They really wanted to get married on this covered bridge, and so we made it happen.
I love it. I love it. So not only do you do the setup,
Mm.
for, of course, for the service itself, like this here. This is,
Mhm.
I think I know this exact spot. Um, you're outside, and that brings its own challenges as well. People need to be aware of. So, do
It
you want to
does.
talk about the challenges? I may have some add-ons to your thoughts, but when you have a wedding outside, there's going to be some challenges. Now, this here is a picture perfect day,
Mhm.
right? I have some suggestions that are, would be a tip down the road for that. But yeah, this is a great semicircle center entrance, arbored area, which I think is ideal. So I'll let you talk about the setup of that and how that works.
Yeah. So obviously, my thoughts on an outdoor ceremony is have a plan B
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have a tent,
Mm-hmm.
because inclement weather can be your worst enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be extremely windy, it could rain, it could be really, really warm, which we've had some events where we've set up and suggested shade, and that suggestion wasn't necessarily taken. And then some of the guests were not feeling the greatest at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
ceremony. And bugs,
Yep.
that can also affect folks. They don't want to be, if you're doing a sunset kind of ceremony, that's when those mosquitoes like to come out and have a nibble. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
mm,
Very true. My big thing about this, and maybe I won't leave it as my tip. It's really something that I've always harped on. I've done videos on it as well. Is that when you're here outside, um, you are lacking in power. So if you need to have amplification so they can hear the service and hear the vows, which is what they're there for. That's what an officiant does. It makes sure that the vows are witnessed by others. You may want to actually make that circle so much tighter and so much smaller to bring people in, because you don't realize that there's sounds, there's water crashing against rocks, there's wind, all of those elements that you wouldn't normally think of are there. So if you're having an outdoor wedding and you want to have it as intimate as possible, you don't want the intrusion of a PA system. You should go to that spot and you should sit there quietly by yourself and listen, and then you can realize how much noise actually is there. Right. So,
and time of day can make a difference as well, Doug.
Huge.
Too, right. So, because in that particular instance, the location was not private. So had it not been at the time that it was, there could have been plenty of ceremony crashes.
Yeah. So, uninvited guests that are there for their Sunday picnic or hanging out at the water and wanting to watch the sunset and playing frisbee and so on and so on and so on. Right. So very true. Another great indoor setup here.
Yes.
Love the if anyone can see that, we can't zoom in, but you can look right to the very center where the ceremony is about to happen. The octagon arch is very, very popular, right?
It is. It really is right now. Different from the traditional arbor that you would have. We've done this a few times now, even as a backdrop as well. And bearing in mind, it's not just stuff that we set up. We also provide these elements for people to DIY if they want to do it themselves. We can set up, but we also leave it to some wedding parties to say, you know what, we can do the heavy lifting. We're okay with that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. If you have a village that wants to help, show them the plan, tell them what you expect, lay it out very, very transparent, and rent the elements and have them brought in. You mentioned traditional arch, which is something more like this.
Yes.
Those are always fun as well, and provided you're not too tall. I don't have that problem, but you.
Me either.
Right. But you do more than just that as well. I'm going to save one of my favorite things to the last, but you do the tables. Very simple, very elegant, very nice. Twinkly. Who doesn't love twinkly lights, right?
Right, exactly. You got to love twinkly lights. It just sets in a certain mood. It's romantic. Not obviously when you've got the ceiling lights on, but when it gets after the speeches and the meal and everything like that, and the lights go down, and you're kind of getting into that party vibe. It looks so pretty, so pretty.
I love a good twinkle. And this here for entrance, which is great. So that that's your seating arrangements, correct?
Seating chart there, or it can be used as a cake stand. So it's multi-purpose.
Or if you're doing photos of the couple, or in memoriam of those that had passed on, or if you're doing generational of all the married grandparents and great grandparents and parents and yourself. Exactly. It's always a great way to go. One of the more tedious things to do that people don't think about, and being a proper English lady, and me very much, believe it or not, a proper gentleman most of the time, is a proper setup of the actual dinner table. This is so important.
Yes.
And to have it delineated so you know which table you're at is so important, so it coincides with that seating chart.
Absolutely.
Do you want to talk about that as well?
Yeah, so sometimes people, they get so involved with the centerpiece and how that will, in their mind that's what they want it to look like. But then the challenge also is if it's too tall, then you're weaving and bobbing, trying to visit with your folks across the other side of the table, allowing for that full setup. What does your meal look like? Are you having a bread plate as well as your main dish plate? Are you also having a salad? Are there going to be cups and saucers, a water glass, a wine glass?
Right.
all of your silverware laid out as well. You know, how's that going to look? So you want people to be comfortable because it's a special day. People get dressed up and they want to look nice. Yeah, there's a little bit of anxiety. That's always why it's so lovely to have a seating chart when you have a number of folks attending, so that they're given direction as where they need to go, and they can see that number on the table based upon that seating chart arrangement, and go there and sit comfortably.
So I tell, as you know, I do a ton of weddings, and I go through rehearsals with them. I explain very much detail that I am the ringleader to the circus you call your wedding. And I tell, when we go through rehearsal, I tell the parents in the front row, after I send the couple down, making their steps as a married couple, I'll give you the sort of like the stewardess, or I don't think we call them that anymore, but the airline attendants that tell you where to go.
Yeah.
I very much tell the front row to get up and go, because if I don't, everyone will sit there like sheeple, sheep that are people, and not move. So you have to have some direction. So a seating chart is very important, so they know where they're going to land, and having that direction, or the lineup of what's going to hapen. The wedding, the cocktails, the speeches, the dinner, all that kind of stuff. People have a level of expectation when it comes to a party that's been properly planned, and that's why you have a party planner like Margery to come in and help you with that. I have one more photo to show before we go to our next guest. This is my favorite. I love this shot. This one here.
Yes. Yeah, so that was a bridal shower, and it was a great location, and it was for literally the bride-to-be and her maid of honor, and it was a high tea. So very British. So we had the scones, we had the sandwiches and everything like that, and proper china teacups. It was a beautiful day. It was a lot of fun.
I love it. People don't think about this. You hire a party planner to plan your wedding. They can be of great service to you to help you plan your pre-party, of whether it's a bachelorette or whether it's a family dinner. They can just make it so much easier and more glamorous, more sophisticated, more elegant at the end of the day, by including them as part of the package. Like, come and do my bachelorette party, or my shower, or what have you, and you do that as well, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. And we literally do as much or as little as the couple want us to do. We've done deliveries of rental items. They've set everything up, and then we come in, because the setup's kind of fun. The teardown is not so much. It's very anticlimactic. It's kind of like after Christmas, you've got all the gifts under the tree. Everybody's unwrapping on Christmas Day. It's a lot of fun. And then it's like, oh, now we've got to clean up. Ugh.
Yeah.
So we offer,
it's the Debbie Downer of the whole wedding, right?
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah. So we will do as much or as little as folks need us to do. So.
And that's a great service, to be able to offer as much or as little. So based on whatever your budget is, and people have this thought that, I can't afford a party planner, it's too much money. That's for the rich folk. No, you can just talk to your planner and say, this is what I have. What can you do? How can you help me make my day better?
Exactly.
With this budget. So, and budget for it. Just budget for it. Right?
Yes. You don't want to have buyer's remorse after you've had your day and gone, oh my gosh, it was a brilliant day. I had so much fun, but it was a lot of money, and some regret there if you've overspent maybe.
Well, you have to, again, if you're going to a line item budget and what you're wanting to spend, and you figure out what's important to you. Maybe it's chair covers, maybe it's proper linen, maybe it's good china, maybe it's not having to lift a finger other than getting your nails done and your hair done and walking in the aisle. Maybe you don't want to tear down at 2 or 3 in the morning, in your wedding dress. So, but they do it, right? So. Remember the days of, now you're too young for this, but Uncle Dougie remembers this, the days of a wedding where the bride and groom would go and change into their honeymoon outfit and then take off.
I did that.
Right?
I did that, yeah.
Someone had to clean that up.
Yeah.
Right? So it was always very elegant, very posh to, put on your travel
Yes,
honeymoon
the
clothes.
travel attire, and then off in the
Yes.
car with we back in England, because that's where I got married. We'd have tin cans hanging off the back
Yes.
of the vehicle.
Oh, we have that here in
Guys
Canada
got
too.
married? Did they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Not anymore.
No, no. You know, always great talking to you. I want to invite in our next guest because I think there's a really great dovetail here between a party planner and a florist. And that
Mm.
florist in question is Liz from Myrtle Flower Market. Um, and, you know, a florist and a planner can work very well together. They can do a lot of great things together. So I want to bring in Liz. Hi, Liz.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Very good. Very good. So Liz is, I think, one of our premier florists in the area. Um, we had Liz on last year, and she actually made a bouquet during the show. She just whipped it up, just kept on going, and before we knew it, before the end of the show, she had an entire bouquet done, and it was gorgeous. It was spectacular. But I want to show the fine folks some of the work you do, and I also want to talk about tablescapes because that's really important as well. A great tie-in to Margery. So bouquets. Now, I don't know about, and I'm gonna get. Don't send me emails, people. Don't send me hate mails. Don't tweet me. Don't send anything. Don't drive by my house and throw any plastic flowers at me. I do not love the artificial flowers. Now, back in the day, 30 some years ago, 36 years ago, the bouquet my wife walked down the aisle with was a silk arrangement, and it looks great. It looks great then. Um, but there's something about the fresh, real flowers, and they've come a long ways because never did you put a jewel or some memorabilia inside of it or a locket or any of those great things. That was this. You guys are light years ahead of when I got married, but this is a gorgeous, fresh flower bouquet. It's breathtaking.
Thank you. I will say this, silk flowers, I think it used to be that silk flowers were the cheaper way to go, and that's no longer the case. A decent silk flower is quite expensive these days.
Mm-hmm.
So actually certainly I'm a flower person, but I would advise investing in fresh. It's much nicer to carry, much nicer on the tables, of course. And yeah.
Absolutely. Now, off topic, as I do. If anyone's been to my weddings, I go off script. They go, "Oh Lord, here we go." Do people still get the small bouquet to throw?
Yeah, people
Okay.
do that. Yes.
All right. I'm long gone. I don't stick around because the last thing you want to see is your wedding officiant at the bar. So, or maybe it's not the last thing you want to see, but I'm gone well before that happens. But they still do the bouquet and they throw.
Yes. So usually what we'll do is ask whether the bouquet toss is a planned part of the evening. And if so, then we'll make a little sort of a mini bridal bouquet to toss because most brides aren't really that keen on throwing their actual bouquet.
Right.
So we'll just make a little one. And when we deliver flowers, we'll just sort of lay it by the place setting for the bride. And then it's just there when she's ready to toss it.
Nice. Yeah. Let's look at some more of your gorgeous work. So this here.
Yeah, so that one is a lot looser, more of cascade style, but if you could see the back side of it, it is actually a spiral hand-tied bouquet. So there's no plastic holder. It's entirely natural, made of greens and flowers, but does have some trailing at the front.
Nice. Of course, there is always the boutonnieres or corsage in this case, I think.
Yeah. Actually, so certainly we still make a lot of boutonnieres and corsages, but we also make a little tiny hand-tied bouquet, which is quite nice for the mother of the bride sometimes, if she's not interested in pinning her dress.
Okay.
Not everybody loves the wrist idea, so
No.
we do make a little tiny hand-tied bouquet for that as well.
Oh, I love that. That's cool.
Yeah, it's nice. It can be held kind of with a purse. Looks pretty in pictures.
You can clutch it with your clutch.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm sorry. And this is another great bouquet.
Yes, I am
Vibrant
a big
color.
fan of dahlia, which is that lovely burgundy flower in the
Yes.
center there. And we're actually partnering with some local farms this year. So we're going to have hopefully entirely local dahlias in our bridal work this year.
Nice.
Yeah.
Vibrant colors are huge this year.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, so it's something to keep in mind. And another great cascading bouquet here. That's gorgeous.
Yes. So that one is made in a holder. So there's like a little plastic handle and foam. The only downside of a bouquet like this, though they're stunning, if it's very hot outside, the oasis can tend to want to shrink away from the stems. Things can get a little bit loose. There's things we do on our end to make that less of a problem, but it's something to be aware of when you're carrying that style of bouquet.
It's gorgeous. And in the center, I see a brooch.
Yes, so the bride really wanted some brooches, but was having a hard time finding them. And those actually are individual pins, which we twisted together to look like a brooch. So we cheated a little, but the end result was the same.
Very impressive. Very good. And then working with your party planner to have, whatever you want in the way of tablescapes or vase arrangements. Here's a great one here.
Yes, so something like that you can definitely use. Like you could do a pair of those for the ceremony, one on either side.
Mm-hmm.
They can come back and be part of the head table display, or it can be used individually, like at a cake table or a gift table.
Yeah, or signing table or what have you. Another gorgeous one here that's quite. I love this. I love the fact that if you look down into the vase, there's an arrangement inside of the arrangement.
Yeah, so that's why I included that one, because we do love to do things that are a little bit unique. Something like that is really a showpiece. And actually, to be honest, that one has a crow in it. That was from Crow Fest.
I saw that.
Yes.
I wasn't going to point that out.
But it was just a really cool piece, and there's no reason that you can't do something really unique like that.
Well, exactly. This sounds so typical, Doug. But in Sex and the City, Sarah Jessica Parker had a bird in her, right? So if that's your thing, then put a bird in your bouquet.
Yep. So we can really work with just about anything. I mean, I've pretty well done just about everything you could imagine.
Well, you are very creative in what you do, and it's a nice, fresh approach to flowers, and that's not easy to do, to try to be up on what's fresh and cool and now all the time. But you do it without missing a beat. So
thanks.
Another simple, great table, and Margery talked about this as well, about keeping things relatively low. That's gorgeous.
Yeah, so this is a really good example of how your florist can actually work with things that you provide. So this was like an antique silver bowl that belonged to the bride's aunt. And they just brought it to me, and we filled it, and they put it on the head table, and it was a way to incorporate a little bit of family sentiment. And it was a beautiful bowl, and I'd actually never worked with anything quite like that before, and we had a lot of fun.
I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. So you both have had combined, I don't know how many years of talent and experience. So Margery, how long have you been doing this?
About 15 years.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And Liz, I know you have a lot of extensive training, not just in the area, but outside of the area. How long have you been?
I've been in cut flowers for 20 years, a little over 20 years, and weddings, a large portion of that.
Wow. It's a lot of experience. So you come together, you talk to a great florist like Liz, and you talk to a fabulous planner like Margery. You're looking at 35 years worth of experience right there, right? They've seen it all, thought of it all. They're able to bring you some really cool things to do, and they're able to be a resource for your wedding. And you need that in this day and age of having, planning a wedding. And I know, having talked to so many couples, that they're like, well, I don't want to do that. My friend did that at her wedding 2 years ago, or I don't want to do that. My brother did it at his wedding, and it's always the gamut of trying to find out what's new. And it's funny because some people will go, well, my brother used Liz for flowers, so I don't want the same thing, so I'm going to go somewhere else. No. Go talk to Liz. and say, well, you did my brother's wedding. And I liked this, but I didn't like that. And I don't want it to look anything like theirs. And it's easy peasy, right? You know what to do. So having that conversation is extremely important. So do you guys want to talk about your creative sort of juices, your direction and ways?
For me, I like to really draw from whatever the bride and groom are bringing to me. So it's important a little bit to do things in the right order. It's difficult to speak to a florist if you don't already have a certain amount of things in place, like what your bridesmaids' dresses are going to be, what your dress is going to be, venue. And once you have those things in place, I don't know, we can usually just sit down and have a chat and look at pictures and figure things out and be creative together.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Margery, what about you?
Vibe. Trying to understand the vibe of what the couple is looking for, making sure that we're on the same page. You know, if it's rustic, is it bohemian? Is it, black and white, which is elegant? Is it super casual? Making sure that it makes sense for them and it's their comfort level, because it's their day, and we want to make sure that they get the best out of their day that they possibly can.
Absolutely. And sometimes you need to give them some help. I had a couple that I talked to a couple years ago, and they're like, well, we're getting married on the beach. We want sort of a beach themed wedding. I said, that's great. So I like to make sure that I dress appropriately for weddings as their officiant. So I don't want to outdress them because it's their day. I don't want to underdress them because I'm not, your Uncle Gord either. So I said, so what are the guys wearing? Well, they're wearing top hats and tails. I said, on the beach? You have an opportunity here to have something way more casual on the beach but sometimes people need a little bit of help because they have they have this in their mind and that's what it is, but now they've got a different venue than what they originally thought, and so we have to help them as professionals, which is what we do. So I love to get tips. From you. So let's have our little pro tip right after this. So our pro tip is brought to you by With This Ring, an officiant that is, hands down, definitely cool.
Definitely.
Definitely cool. Marge, do you have a pro tip for us for weddings?
Plan. Give yourself enough time to plan, because the last thing you want is 3 weeks out from the event and realize, oh, I need tables and chairs. Yeah. Which I actually have experienced with some folks that have gotten everything else taken care of and then forgotten that they need something for folks to sit at and on. So,
absolutely.
Reach out sooner rather than later, especially for things like that, because tables, chairs, linens tend to be the first things that are rented. And there's a finite number, and when they're gone, they're gone. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Very true. Liz, what about you?
I would say my number one tip is to not be shy about your budget. I find a lot of people feel or at least seem uncomfortable saying that they have a budget or what it is. And for me, my goal is not to plan something for you that is way over the top. It's to meet your expectations and give you what you need and also help you stay within your budget. That's super important to me. So I always want to know if there's a budget, then I'll help you with it.
Absolutely. Those are two great pro tips. Now, all these pro tips that we're collecting from the series will end up in our downloadable PDF wedding planning guide, which will be ready at the end of the series. So if you're looking for that, you'll be able to find it shortly. My pro tip sort of works with both of yours. So many weddings happen in someone's backyard on the farm. The tent goes up on the Tuesday, let's say. The wedding is on a Saturday. I tell people, have your rehearsal, have the bare bones setup, the tables, the chairs that can be outside for that period of time by the Thursday. Have your rehearsal on the Thursday, because what's going to happen is you're going to say, oh, we forgot candles. We need candles. You can run out on the Friday and get the candles as opposed to running out Saturday morning between getting your hair and nails done. So if you have it on the Thursday, you have that gap that for the forget-me-nots that you might forget to have. Or maybe it's, we forgot to get a wagon because we're bringing a child in on a wagon, or we forgot the rose petals or things like that. And work on a schedule so that you can say, okay, I'm going to tell my tent person to put my tent up on Tuesday. I'm going to let my florist know I want the flowers delivered, at 8:00 on the Saturday. I can tell my planner that my tables need to come and be set up on Tuesday afternoon after the tent is up, or Wednesday morning. Those kind of plans, so you can see a bit of a planogram to have everything sort of in place, so you're not pulling your hair out, and you'll see it just sort of evolve. Especially if you have this wedding on your property or your family's property, or on a farm or in backyard, you can see it evolve. And you'll see things like, well, I forgot about this stake that's holding the tent up. Maybe I should run to the nearest garden center and buy a pot of something, mums or what have you, to go there, so that it's not a trip hazard. Because someone's going to have a few drinks too many, and they're not going to see that cable at midnight, and they're going to trip over it. And God help us, they don't hurt themselves. So yeah, it's all about the planning. You can execute a great wedding. Will they be perfect? No. Will it be as close as possible? If you have the right people helping you, it will be. So it's pretty simple. So, thank you for the tips, guys. Any closing thoughts or words you want to impart on us?
Remember to have fun. Remember to really have fun on the day of. Take it all in, because it does often go by in the blink of an eye. Just almost like take photographs with your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Put that to memory.
Yeah, very true. Liz, anything?
Mine would be the same, similar. Just don't sweat the small stuff. Don't worry about things you can't control, and just enjoy your day.
So I've always had a rule as a wedding officiant, because I love weddings and I see a lot of them. And I know that people do get excited and they get hyped up, and they've gone through hair and makeup, and they've had, a couple mimosas, and they, then they've got to get photos, and then, all of we have more now than we ever, and we have a reveal, right? And we have, all of these first looks and all of that stuff. So one of the rules that I always have to make sure not to make sure, but to help them really try to seize the day, is that, and I've said this before in other broadcasts, when they get down front, I talk to the DJ and I say, okay, listen, Mr. or Mrs. DJ, I need 30 seconds on the end of her arrival. Please don't stop the music short. 30 seconds. Because the three of us, now as a nucleus, need to take a deep breath. In and out. Relax the shoulders. See the person of your dreams across from you for a minute before we start into the whole mishigash of a wedding. And it's so important, because you ground yourself, and I hope that all of the hundreds of couples I've married who've done that, they've remembered the service and the ceremony more than they would have if they just rushed up the aisle and rushed down the aisle. So it's very important. So excellent. You guys are great to talk to. I hope the people that are watching will come to you and talk to you and get your sage advice and wisdom, because it's certainly well worth it. So for those that are watching, this will be a rerun unless you're watching it during the rerun, on Sunday at 11 o'clock. Be sure to find us on YouTube and subscribe so you can follow along. And we are here to help. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. Thank you for coming to engagement. And we wish you all of your favorite dreams in your new wedding.